VLR.
Hi, this is Jonah Goldberg from National Review, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz is a Republican and our guest tonight. Senator, good to see you. What's it like to be the most hated man in America?
Thank you. Welcome back to the show. Congratulations. Holy moly. Number
so
170 countries. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, thank
You're
you
having
so
a good day today.
I am, besides the fact that I'm catching pneumonia in your studio right now.
It's very cold, but you have to wear clothes when you come on here. That's how you make it warmer.
I asked if I could bring a blanket, and they looked at me like I was crazy, but I was ready to sit there and
get you a blanket.
do the interview.
Cozy up.
Next, news, entertainment, etc. Tonight with Jonathan D. Sangster.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Next, Jonathan Sangster. Producer tonight, Taylor Millard.
Always happy to be here. I'm still buzzing from my hockey experience yesterday, so you'll excuse me if, you mentioned something in the news or
Baseball.
politics or something, and I'm just like, what? What are you talking
Baseball.
That is my mom.
I've been excited because there's been lots of baseball on at work, and I got to watch 2 different Angels games today, so I'm pretty happy. Especially about the second one. They were
Trying
doing really
not
well.
to disconnect you now. Listen, I may be taking a break from the baseball team in Arlington, Texas, right now, but yeah, I still am not an Angels fan.
Well, you're missing out then.
No, I'm
Though
not.
I am excited to see they did a lot of additions to Coors Field, the Rockies Stadium here, and they're still working on it, but I can't wait to actually see it all this summer. So it'll be like the biggest deck bar and all this stuff. They did a bar that's for $52.80 for a mile. They did a 52-foot long bar that's 8 inches wide. Can't remember exactly, but they measured like all the dimensions of the bar are based off of 5280. Like they're supposed to have something about they're supposed to have like 528 beers, and pretty much every Colorado beer, which is probably about 500, and then various others. But yeah, it's going to be quite the thing to see, and they added a lot more too. But yeah, I guess it's going to be for at least for a sports stadium, not an actual restaurant. It's going to be one of the biggest bars there is, period. And that it's on the 3rd or 4th story deck. It's something too. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Cool.
Yeah, so far every once in a while they reveal pictures of it from the other side of the stadium. It's like, okay, they're building something there. I'm waiting for those pictures of it from it. That'll be a lot more interesting. But yeah, that'll be the excitement here.
When is opening day there?
That is a good question, actually. I don't know. I counted down to spring season, and I totally haven't been counting down.
Oh, okay. Around here, I think it's on Easter weekend, I think, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's something that... March 31st is opening day.
Oh, there you go.
Their first game is in Australia. I didn't know about this actually till just yesterday. I caught it that several of the teams are opening the season by playing in games in Australia versus each other. I'm from the teams that are in it. I'm pretty sure it's the National League West teams are all doing this. I'm like, that's kind of exciting. It's definitely. I mean, we have the NFL does the games in London and Mexico City, but now we have Major League Baseball teams going to Australia for a series.
Yeah,
Like, that's pretty cool. I mean, good way to spread the sport. And baseball, I mean, especially, Korea and Japan and stuff, it's pretty big. I mean, especially in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, interesting to see it spreading to Australia, too.
Well, there are some Australian baseball players.
Yes.
there.
Yeah, and they have a decent national team, too. But it's, cool seeing the major leagues go over there. I mean, if I lived over there, I'd be pretty excited to go, but.
I mean, you got Grant Balfour, who's from the, who's from Australia. You've got, who else do you have from Australia? Okay, I'm cheating. I'm looking at Wikipedia. Okay. Rich Thompson, who is with the Blue Jays. He's from Australia. Graham Lloyd, I don't think he's in the league anymore. I think he finally retired. Yeah. He's from Australia. You got...
Oh, yeah.
They made the 2004 Olympics.
Yes. Yeah, and they've had baseball, and the first recorded game was in Melbourne in 1857, so it's not like it's...
Not like it's new.
Yeah. It seems like the first time they had a national title was 1934.
Uh-huh.
And as of 2012, you had 31 Australian players that had played at least one Major League Baseball game. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Like
the first Australian in
hockey,
baseball was Joe Quinn on April 26th of 1884 for the St. Louis Maroons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Back in the day. 1884, the Maroons.
Huh.
Who later became the Indianapolis Hoosiers. Before the team fell apart. So
Yeah.
from the Maroons to the Hoosiers.
Yeah. Would you like to hear something actually really funny, hockey related? You should be impressed by this, or funny by this.
Okay.
So tonight at the Florida Panthers is Tim Thomas bobblehead night. At the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
There's just one problem. Tim Thomas is not going to be there.
Oops.
You know why Tim Thomas is not going to be there?
They traded him?
To the Dallas Stars.
Hey, we're going to give away his jerseys. Oh, by the way, we traded him.
Yeah.
Oh! Really?
Yeah.
When did the trade happen? Like
Last week.
last week? And they didn't have the week to plan and get someone else's jerseys?
Well,
That's still on the team?
Bobbleheads.
Oh, bobblehead, sorry. But yeah, okay. Yeah, but still, that's pretty sad.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So-
really bad.
That is one of those, yeah. And of course, Tim Thomas made his debut for the Dallas Stars last night when Kari Lettinen got steamrolled and got a concussion at during the game.
Oh. Saw when I've been watching baseball the last couple of days, there's been, several pitchers getting drilled, just the ball getting hit off the bat right at them. I mean, the one guy, and it's the spring season, so they're just taking them out of the game pretty much automatically just because it's not, But the one guy took it right in the calf, which it's like, well, if you're going to get hit, it's not
Yeah,
there's
get
a
hit in
good
the
place to get
calf,
hit. That's one of the better places because, all meat where he got hit. I mean, he wasn't loving it, but definitely better there than the shin. That.
I remember when a Rangers pitcher got hit in the head with a ball, and the weird thing about it was it hit him in the head and then bounced in the air to the guy playing shortstop. And because it was caught in the air, it was
Never touched the ground.
An out. But after the dude's pitching career was never the same.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we had that a few years ago. Was when right before the reason they started the base coaches having to wear helmets instead of hats was because the Sky Sox, the minor league team for the Rockies in Springs, the base coach got drilled by the line drive right in the head and dropped. And that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it was later that year or the next year when Sammy Sosa took one to the head and his helmet shattered. That was kind of scary. I mean, Sosa was all right, but when your helmet shatters...
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a few get cracked helmets, but it shattered. That was... Of course, then there's always the classic Randy Johnson versus the Bird.
Oh, gosh.
Poof. Feathers.
I felt... I still feel bad for Randy Johnson because he was like... Someone asked him how he felt about that. He was like, "How do you think I felt? I just killed something. I wasn't trying to."
Yeah. Whereas pretty much everyone else just laughs about it because it's just like, oh, no more bird. I mean, the pure chance of the bird going through the air at the right exact spot at the perfect time. I mean, I've never even seen another bird get hit by a ball, let alone blown up by one.
Yes. By the way, I do like how you've said talking baseball and hockey on next, and then proceed to CC Mary Chastain.
There we go. We got her mentioned, and we had to do her. We're seriously going to have to get her on one night because we're always talking about her.
Yeah.
In some form or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day.
She's of course she's been busy keeping an eye out on the on all the Ukraine stuff that's been going on.
Yes. Yeah. It's good to see someone other than Katrina and I suddenly interested in what's going on elsewhere in the world. Yeah, that's something we've been following on here and on my site since it all started.
Well, I've been kind of curious about what kind of your opinion of that is, of everything that's kind of gone down with the Ukraine and all the other stuff that's going on, and what the possible solutions are.
Well, for those that don't know, over the last couple weeks, went from Ukraine getting rid of their president and voting in an interim, not voting in, but the parliament voting in an interim president while elections are being set for May. And then I want to say it got moved up to March, but I could be thinking about something else that's going on with that. But from that happening to the eastern part of the country threatening to split, and then Russia mobilizing troops and voting to allow Putin to invade Ukraine to protect, quote unquote, the Russian people in there, even though there's no sign of them being harassed.
Yeah.
Or the opposite. And then the world going, no. So Russia backed off invading eastern Ukraine, but 30,000 plus unmarked Russian-speaking, equipped with Russian weapons, Russian vehicles with Russian license plates have suddenly shown up in the Crimea, which Russia goes, oh, they're defense groups and militias. 30,000? Seriously? When was the last time you saw 30,000 troops pop out of that quick in a week? World War II, World War I, I think, right? But anyway, they've backed Russia off, from invading the rest of Ukraine, but they're denying their troops are in Crimea, even though no one doubts it, who they are. And they've besieged the Ukrainian soldiers on their own bases, in some cases raiding them, taking away their guns, but leaving them the bases. In one case, they took over the base, kicked out the Ukrainian troops, and those troops have every day gone, which was a very brave thing for them to do. The 200 of them marched unarmed up to the base and asked to service the vehicles at least, so that the vehicles don't break down horribly or anything while they're unused. And on the first day, they were fired. Well, they weren't fired out, but an actual militiaman did fire over their heads to try and scare them off, and they didn't run away, so they just kept coming and keep trying. And you've had a couple other incidents where Russian troops or ships have harassed Ukrainian forces in Sevastopol. 3 Ukrainian ships have been trying to get out of the harbor, but they've been blocked by Russian ships that were going back and forth, shining lights at them, blasting their horns, and the Ukrainian sailors for a while had lashed their mattresses to the boat to repel boarders and readied the water cannons. Well, a couple days ago, the Russians instead just scuttled a ship across the way so that the ships can't leave, and just have left the sailors on their boats, blocking them from doing anything. But again, there's no Russians there, even though it's clearly their ships. And now you have Crimea planning a referendum for March 16th, next Sunday, in which they'll vote whether they should join Russia or not, which Russia has already said they'll welcome them. However, the Ukraine especially says no, that's not acceptable, and that decision's been backed by the EU, the US. Australia has been very outspoken against this. And then even the UN has said, no, that's not legal, because there's clearly troops possibly influencing things. You pull out, the troops, and then if they still vote it, then maybe it's legal type thing, because they're not coerced. Today was the 200th anniversary of the birth of Taras Shevchenko, who was an ardent Ukrainian nationalist and one of their most famous poets, and he's a national hero. So all over Ukraine, you had these rallies to celebrate him. Well, in Crimea, those rallies were counted by pro-Russian rallies, in some cases arguing, pushing matches, and in Simferopol, the capital of Crimea, police kept the two sides separate. However, in Sevastopol, the pro-Russian groups attacked the people celebrating their national hero with whips, among other things. And so you have actual injuries now occurring because of this. But that's pretty much where we're at right now. The former president of Ukraine still says he's in charge, and has asked Russia to send troops in to help him take back his country, but Russia's kind of ignoring him now that they've decided they're not going to invade. And they're mostly backing this government of Crimea that's saying, we're no longer part of Ukraine, and we're either going to be independent or we're going to be Russian.
Makes sense, I guess.
So that's kind of where we're at now.
It seems like one of those, everyone's just kind of a standoff, basically.
Yes. Oh, and then yesterday the big thing was we had several times now international observers have tried to go into Crimea to make sure everyone's treating each other okay and stuff. Well, and yesterday the groups were from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. They had warning shots fired over their heads when they tried to enter Armyansk, Ukraine. It's the northernmost city in Crimea. When they tried to do that, the warning shots shot at them, and so they pulled back, and it's kind of international observer attempts at this point aren't going to be stopped just because they don't want someone getting shot.
Yeah.
And it's clearly, if you won't even let someone in to make sure you're not treating people wrongly, then you've got something to hide, the way you're acting. But at this point, there's very little they can do. I mean, with, again, Ukraine's can't force their way in against 30,000 Russian troops with another 100,000 plus just across their border. And no NATO, the west of Europe, U.S., no one's going to back Ukraine up if it comes to a shooting war, unfortunately. Not that I'm all like, hey, let's go in, but at the same time, this is a clear violation of Ukraine's rights, and they're they're going to be part of the EU. It's just now this has delayed things while everything gets figured out, but the EU is bringing them in as quickly as it can anyways. And once they do that, their NATO membership is basically assured.
Yeah, and then it becomes even...
Then they're an actual ally, and we're required to do something. So then Russia wouldn't likely do something because, it's different when we should say something about that versus, oh, we're required to now. But there was a lot of fears that Russia would invade, and especially the eastern Ukraine, and where there is some pro-Russian activity as well, which didn't exist. I mean, to a degree it exists, but there was no rallies until these thousands of Russian pro-Russian militias started showing up. Kind of go figure, Oh, there's guys with guns saying this should go. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Solution-wise, yes, like you said, it's a standoff. Russia, I doubt is going to go any further than this, just because everyone's calling them right on what they've done so far. The U.S. and some of the European nations, and again, Australia being the big one, very vocal against this, are already starting sanctions, limited sanctions, mostly on specific people, not actually on the country or anything. But it's, again, if that's all that's going to be threatened, Russia's not going to back out of the Crimea. And it would be a very costly war for Ukraine to even attempt to retake Crimea with force. So, pretty much long run, Crimea is part of Russia, and no one's willing to do anything to actually reverse that at this point.
Sounds like a mess.
Yes, at least people aren't dying right now. I mean, who knows? Now that there's actual violent fighting occurring, we'll see over the next week till this vote happens, which all but very most much likely will be a vote for Crimea to become part of Russia, which then it's a question of do the people that still want to be part of Ukraine, what they do about it. But when you have, 30,000 troops, let me check real quick how big Crimea is. Yeah, Crimea is just over 10,000 square miles. And there's at least 30,000 unofficial Russian troops plus pro-Russian militias in that area. So yeah, definitely safe to say it is very well occupied.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking... Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people for that area. And that's not even mentioning the naval personnel that were already there because Russia rents bases from Ukraine that back from before it was part of Ukraine and the USSR and stuff. So it's just, a mess is a good way to put it. Standoff definitely, and because Russia's not willing to actually go to war over more because they realize Ukraine definitely will fight, and I mean, Putin might be the most powerful person in the world, but I don't think he's willing to lose that much face just for more of Ukraine. Whereas Crimea is definitely most heavily industrialized and most valuable strategically for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the I don't know what the solution is there.
Yeah,
except for maybe diplomatic stuff.
No, yeah, like I said, short of just pure forcing them out, the Russians aren't going to leave.
Yeah,
and it would take a lot more than Ukraine has to offer to take it back at this point. I mean, it would take all of NATO at least showing up with guns ready. You know, I don't know. It would have been interesting to see if we had a different president. If, while Russian troops were mobilizing and doing maneuvers on just off a couple miles from Ukraine's border, if we'd had our troops in Germany start doing maneuvers. Not necessarily saying, hey, we will fight, but we could. We have the capability.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely would have sent a lot stronger of a message had we done something like that.
That is true. I'm still not sure that that was the ultimate solution. I mean, to all of a sudden start doing war games. Yeah,
definitely not saying that sending U.S. troops in is even the right option. To say they definitely would have sent a stronger message had a battalion or some a couple hundred U.S. troops did some maneuvers suddenly, and there was a lot of there was a Russian ICBM tested last week.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are going, well, except for that had been timed months in advance because of all the international treaties and stuff. It just happily coincided while this is going on.
Yeah, and that's and yeah, that was something that I know they tried to kind of put off as yeah, we knew about this but it's like, come on, that's flexing muscle.
Oh yeah, I mean the timing's great, perfect for Russia, but it definitely had been planned for months. Unlike it's not like over the last week while the U.S. and South Korea are doing war games that North Korea's fired 6 missiles and a bunch of artillery rounds into the sea.
Yeah,
not at anything, but I mean North Korea's like, oh, you're gonna have war games, we're gonna throw stuff in your short of you by lots of miles, but I mean Russia's not about they don't have to start throwing missiles around to show their strength. They just send in 30,000 troops without unit or markings or anything, and just say, what troops? Didn't China do that in the Korean War? The U.S. is almost, the Allies have almost taken back Korea, and then suddenly 1 million Chinese desert and cross the border to help the North Koreans.
I will be honest, I don't know because I never studied the Korean War.
Oh yeah, that was what I think it was. I'm not sure if it was several 100,000. I want to say it was almost 1 million. But yeah, Chinese troops, the official statement from the Chinese government was that they deserted and attacked the Allied forces that had almost taken over all of the Korean peninsula.
Wow.
Which would have ended the Korean War with a unified democratic Korea.
Wow.
Yeah. 1 million troops just up in desert. Oh, what can we do? Yeah. And they just kept getting supplied for the rest of the war too. Oh.
Strange thing.
I know.
But all right, so, and I have to thank at him for Rachel Rachel M. for doing this, for pointing out that the St. Louis Blues are apparently going to be doing a Star Wars night.
Da, 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 da.
What are you doing? That's not the Star Wars theme.
There's multiple.
Dun, 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 dun,
See, I was more doing the march.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they're doing that. which actually gives us an excellent segue into the next
What you were really
topic.
excited to talk about.
Yes. But you know what we need to do first?
Break.
Take a short break. So we'll be right back, folks, after this on Next with Jonathan Sangster. I'm your producer, Taylor. We'll be right back after this.
Mr. President, members of Congress, you've been making a lot of noise about taking our guns away. But you might want to review history. 1835, Gonzales, Texas Territory. The authorities wanted to confiscate the big gun that protected that colony. You know what the people said? Come and take it. Because they were willing to fight for their freedom and their guns. So are we.
Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from my cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it.
One shot at a time. Just like Gonzales, we're keeping our guns.
Welcome back to Next, everyone. Right before we left, Taylor brought up Star Wars, which we were discussing before the show. I had made some big plans, actually. I've talked about several times that I wanted to watch all 6 episodes in a day, which, if you watch it straight, is about 13 and a half hours. I'm planning a little bit longer.
Yourself for 1 hour.
Yeah, but on May the 4th, which, as for those that know, is the unofficial, official Star Wars Day, because May the 4th be with you, I've decided that I'm going to watch all 6 straight, which could be, I've done it before, and live tweeted movies. If you follow Jonathan's movies on Facebook or Twitter, you know that happens. And so that could be happening for all... Well, with the schedule I'm going, it'll be almost 15 hours, because I'm basically doing a movie every 2.5 hours. So it gives me little breaks in time for food, breaks, etc. Yeah, and I'm going to have friends over and have food. It's going to be a fun time. But I'm pretty excited, because I haven't done that before. It's been a few years since I've even done the original trilogy all in one night.
I like 5 of the 6 films.
Okay, let's do this. Name them in order that you like them, starting with the best.
Empire Strikes Back. A New Hope. And Return of the Jedi are tied. And then I was really a big fan of Revenge of the Sith, Clone Wars, and then Episode 1, which isn't as bad as everybody remembers it.
No, it was just a letdown because we were expecting such greatness. My order is pretty much the same.
And that's the problem with films.
Yeah.
Is that if you expect something to be fantastic and are just going, oh my gosh, you know, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait. It's going to be exactly like it was in '77. Then it's not. What do you expect?
Yeah. Every once in a while, a movie is able to stay great, but yeah, not normally with series especially. But yeah, no, my order is definitely the same order as yours, actually.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think, the general agreement among Star Wars fans, though, that The Empire Strikes Back is the greatest. And then it kind of differs whether New Hope or Return of the Jedi is better. And then, yeah, Revenge of the Sith, Clone War, or Attack of the Clones, and then the Phantom Menace. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still excited. It's only a year and 9 months and some days till episode 7
with J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Wasn't apparently last week at the Oscars, Harrison Ford was already growing out his Han Solo hair?
Was he? I hadn't heard that. I totally didn't watch it, so I have no idea. I saw a lot of tweets complaining about his earring. I'm like, yeah, he's had that for a long time, people. It's time to realize that.
Well, and that's why people want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because he's had it for so long, and he's like, what, 70?
Oh, he's, I think, older than that. He's not a young kid. Harrison Ford. He is... Okay, he's only 71, so yeah. He's going to be in the Expendables 3, too.
Yeah, I know.
Which... The first one, I kind of was like, eh. The second one, I was like, okay. And then this one, I'm like, you got Jackie Chan joining as well, and among other people. I'm like, I'm kind of, just excited to see who's going to be in 4 at this rate.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I really enjoyed that. I really, really, really enjoyed both Expendables.
Yeah. Yeah, the first was better than I expected, and then, so the second I gave a little bit more, this could be okay, and it, I loved some of the lines they had, their classic lines, but just who got to say what, just...
Yeah, and of course, the fact that they had Chuck Norris basically, playing Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only one Chuck for me.
I'm not complaining about that.
There's only one Chuck for me, and he's not the one.
Okay, who's your Chuck?
Chuck Bartowski from Chuck, played by Zachary Levi.
I'm from Texas, so that should kind of say it all.
It's a great TV show.
I've heard it. I've actually never seen it, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, and Adam Baldwin.
Yeah,
is
and Adam Baldwin's in it. So
I mean, and Yvonne Strahovski, it's good, entertainment, nerdy spy show. I mean, really, it's Alias, but with nerdiness, and a little more in comedy instead of drama. More, I mean, there's drama in it, but it's definitely more the nerd comedy angle of spy. I just, greatly enjoyed it. I mean, actually, I finally gave in, and I had refused to watch season 5 just because I didn't want it to end. And so I finally watched it a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it was so good.
Well, there you go.
Tell you what movie, though, I'm really looking forward to this summer. I mean, there's some really good ones. I mean, the trailer for Captain America Winter Soldier, that new trailer was pretty good that came out. And that comes out next month. The one I'm waiting for, though, is May 16th, Godzilla.
I saw that trailer, and that was kind of like, all right.
And I'm a Godzilla fan. I mean, on my shelf, my DVD shelf, I've got the original Godzilla movies.
Okay, now the one with Raymond Burr, or wait, Raymond.
No, we're talking way before that.
Raymond Burr.
Or wait, was he in the? Yeah, because there was
Raymond Burr. I got him and Aaron Burr mixed up for a second.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Oh, it's not. But yeah, no, I've got. Oh, that's what I watched the other night. Was the original Godzilla. I mean, there's only one movie where they kill Godzilla, and that's the original Godzilla. And they suck the oxygen out of Tokyo Harbor to do it.
Wow.
And it's like, they don't screw around, when they do it. But then it was such a hit, they brought him back and introduced other monsters, which is something I was excited in this trailer that came out last Tuesday. There's 2 split seconds where you can see Rodan one of Godzilla's nemesis.
So you think there's gonna be multiple
Yes.
monsters here?
Yes. Which follows kind of the standard Japanese Godzilla things. Godzilla is not necessarily trying to destroy Tokyo. In the first one he did, but after that, half his destruction was trying to save it from other monsters.
Yeah.
Or aliens, or man. I mean, he was protecting Godzilla. He's just big and has that tail, gets in the way. You know, that's something my mom actually always says. He was just walking through town and he swung his tail. It's not his fault. The buildings are so close together, you know. But yeah, no, there's the one you can clearly see it's Rodan. The one it's like you really have to know Godzilla to recognize in the one. The other one, it's this claw that's clearly not Godzilla's. It's more the talon of Rodan, and it's so. Yeah, I know. A couple people and I were like, "Oh my God, Rodan's in it too." Makes it all the better because. So it's not going to be Godzilla as the bad guy, probably. I mean, it could be. I mean, he's never really the good guy, really, but he's, you know, it looks like he's going to be the good guy of the monsters, unless they're working together, which would just throw us all off. And I liked the theme that the trailer has, that the U.S. nuclear tests of the 50s weren't experiments and tests. They were attempts to destroy Godzilla or whatever was out there. Yeah. But
yeah. That's a nice homage to the original one.
Yes, yeah. A lot of times it was Godzilla was coming when he was attacking man. It was because they were harming the world with nukes. That was a big one with Mothra. When Mothra, one of the other monsters, when Mothra was big on trying to defend the world from the pollution. They had one actually. Even for me, it's really bad Godzilla movie, but he fights this pollution monster that was created by pollution. I mean, so that a lot of the Godzilla theme was, you know, this, you know, protect the world, the Earth, from the, you know, destruction of nuclear and pollution. At least care, you know, not necessarily going as far as the global warming, though some of the newer ones that they've done since the last time America made one, the 98 debacle, have been more about, you know, the global warming side of things. But
I was going to ask what your opinion of that was.
It fits with the original theme. I mean, I like, you know, the original where they're just, you know, throwing nuclear missiles around just to see what it does is bad. I'm like, that kind of makes sense. We know it destroys everything in its path, you know. How many nukes did you need to throw to figure that out? You know, but the newer ones, you know, just it makes the progression make sense. You know, I don't have many of those on my shelf. I have almost all of the old ones. You know, that kind of says my thought on that, I think. But
with or without subtitles?
Oh, without. And
so,
actually, that brings me back to my Jonathan.
So you can understand it in Japanese, then?
Nah, well, I think the first time I've watched them all, I've watched them with subtitles, but after that, I'm just pure enjoying it. You know,
okay.
I mean, yeah, I would say that was one thing with Jonathan's movies I did, where we did a drinking game with Godzilla versus Mothra, and that was a very intense thing. Yeah, it was a lot. If I ever do that one again, I'll have to definitely tone it down. The final count by someone else was about, it ended up being a 6-pack and 30-some shots in an 80-minute movie.
What do you think of the new, of how he looks?
I'm a fan that, you know, they didn't do like the last, like I said, the 98 debacle, where like, oh, he's just a dinosaur named Godzilla. I mean, he pretty much, I liked the director was talking about it in an interview that they put out last week, a couple days after the trailer came out, talking about, you know, he basically tried to go, okay, if the stories from the stories that spawned the movies of the 50s and then on, what they would have seen, but like make him more realistic, not just a guy in a big rubber suit. I mean, he's definitely got that same, he's that size, but they tried to make him look a little more dinosaurs and stuff, not just a big rubber suit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with it. That was the big thing that really the 98 did wrong. Apaches were able to take Godzilla out when we've seen how many movies where the entire might of the Japanese defense forces couldn't scratch him much. They annoyed him. In some movies, he just stood there and looked at them like, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm definitely, at least from what they've shown so far, I'm a fan of it. Yeah.
I'm not. I mean,
I'll probably be their opening night.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing when it comes to when it comes to that. I've seen the only Godzilla film I've seen outside of bits and pieces of the 98 one, which I've seen bits and pieces of the 98 one.
In 98, he was an escapee from Jurassic Park, basically. Hey, who was chasing him? Oh, wait, the same guy in Jurassic Park. That's Goldblum, right?
No, it was Matthew Broderick.
Oh, yeah, it was. Never mind. Okay. So, the failed Inspector Gadget.
He's more talented though than.
Yeah, that was not the right actor for the part. But yeah.
Which one, Inspector Gadget or?
I think either of them.
Or for Godzilla.
I think Matthew Broderick. He was not the right person for either of them. Because he's in other stuff has shown he's a really good actor. And the Godzilla that they made in 98 was horrible. And yeah, he just did not do well. I don't think he could do well in what was given to him.
Yeah.
But.
Well, it's, you look at his, here's a funny, you go and you look at his work, and we're talking Matthew Broderick's work. He did, obviously he's known for, everybody knows him for Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
yeah.
Right? And then The Freshman, and Glory.
That's what I was going to say, Glory, which is one of the most superb films of the Civil War, let alone talking about talking about the colored units going in.
Yeah. But no, but check all the rest of the stuff that he's done, okay? Out on a Limb, which I've never seen or even heard of until now. A Life in the Theater, which got an Emmy nomination. The Lion King.
Well, yeah, he's Simba.
Yeah, he's adult Simba. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor Thomas is young Simba, and he's adult Simba. Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle, which apparently some people really liked. He did The Road to Wellville, which looks at John Harvey Kellogg. That actually starred Anthony Hopkins, which was okayly received. He then did The Cable Guy, which I think everybody kind of hated. Then he did, he did Cable Guy. Then he did Infinity with Patricia Arquette, which I don't really know how people liked about that. It only made $195,000 at the box office, but
ouch. That
doesn't necessarily. But it could have been an independent film, though.
But yeah, and he did stuff like the Stepford Wives too, and The Music Man, and yeah.
No, but you just looked at. But it's funny. You look at like what he did just in those few years in between, from 86 to like 99, and it's like, what the heck? Bizarre films that really didn't get him anywhere. And he's a good actor.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, and I mean, you look at the stuff that he's done on the stage with the producers and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which is a underrated comedy, by the way. There's all this. He's a great actor. It may just be one of those things where he's a better stage actor than film actor.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. It's just, some people have their niche, some...
Yeah.
But, well, before we run out of time, I want to touch on a few other things, though. Real quick. Since we only have a few minutes left.
We have 9 minutes. Plenty of time.
Yeah. One of the big stories going on right now is that flight MH7 or 370 that went down in the Pacific, or the Gulf of Thailand is where they think it went down, based on oil slicks and a couple pieces of the debris they found. And that had 239 people aboard, people from all over the world, and it's getting some attention because at least 2 people were on board with stolen passports, so there was some concern that terrorism could be involved. However, that's not that uncommon of a thing there. Is people will escape countries there by stealing passports, so clearly the passports are being checked well. They just, you have a passport for this country. Okay, go ahead, apparently. But, yeah, it's, sad tragedy, though, that... And at this point, they're still searching, but the likelihood of them finding anything, because if it did go down, it's, hundreds of feet of water, or they're thinking by the lack of debris they found that it may have blown up in the sky, which kind of makes sense since there was no distress call or anything. It just stopped being on radar. Yeah, which at the same time, explosion in the sky might support the terrorism view, but unless they find the black boxes, and even then, we might not know anything.
Yeah.
The big story was the Israeli Defense Forces seized a ship on Wednesday, and after they found on board several dozen Class C, or I'm sorry, that was the ship, M302 missiles were found on board the Class C, a Panamanian-flagged cargo ship. The missiles originated in Syria, were flown to Iran, and where they were loaded onto the Class C, and then eventually made its way around the Arabian Peninsula and were headed for Gaza. Which, obviously, if they got into Gaza, Hamas would have been like, ooh, missiles to throw at Israel. And apparently the U.S. intelligence was involved in helping Israel with this mission, and our military forces were prepared to assist if there was any problems, but Israel took care of it, and I believe today they reached Israel, the whole ship nicely confiscated by Israel for that. Another ship, interesting, was developing situation in Libya. There's the port of Sidra, which is an oil port, and it's held by rebel forces. Well, there's been a couple incidences where vessels have come in to pick up oil. In January, a Libyan Navy vessel fired warning shots at a Maltese-flagged vessel because it tried to dock there. Well, this North Korean ship made it in this week, and it was being loaded with oil. Libya promised to bomb the ship if it tries leaving the port, though. So, at this point, you have Libya threatening to bomb a North Korean ship, which I just kind of think, hey, Libya versus North Korea.
Wow.
So that's where we're at now. Though North Korea hasn't claimed ownership of this ship, or ownership of the ship. That's fun to say. No one has actually, and no one's quite sure who owns the ship. but it was flying a North Korean flag. Apparently the ship used to be owned by a Saudi Arabian company, but they sold it and either don't know or aren't releasing who they sold it to. It did change names. It went from... Oh, I blanked on the name. Sorry, it went from... But it's now the Morning Glory, and it changed names on ownership. So, yeah, no one's claiming responsibility for the ship, and at this point she's sitting in the harbor loaded with oil, waiting for Libya to bomb her if she moves. Back in Israel, you had on last Monday, on the 13th... Or wait, no, sorry. That is definitely not right. I definitely saved the wrong link for my site. But you had the Haredim, the very Orthodox Jews, protesting as they're about to be included in draft measures that Israel has, and everyone's part of it. Here we go, sorry. It was on last Sunday. It was on March 2nd. They were protesting against it. They've been previously exempt from the draft, which all Israelis are required to be part of.
Right.
However, the bill before Parliament doesn't allow for drafting of all of them, only for a few thousand, up to 5,000 to be met by 2017. If that quota isn't met, then it allows for it to become all of them. And so they're protesting because they don't want to be... They feel that their beliefs keep them from serving in the military, and that they are protecting Israel because they are dedicated to studying Judaism to such a degree. However, the rest of Israel kind of goes, we have to serve, you should have to too. And that's been a thing over the last bit. They've been increasing the amount of Arab Jews, or Arab Israelis, that are in the military, and considering even adding them to the draft as well.
Right.
So that's big thing there is, with the Haredim all upset about it. It's, quite a picture when you have hundreds. They estimated 300,000 of them protested in Jerusalem last Sunday afternoon. One thing, we did have a Marine die on February 28th. Lance Corporal Caleb L. Erickson, 20 of Waseca, Minnesota. He was killed in combat in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. He was from the 1st Battalion, 9th Marine Regiment, 2nd Marine Division, 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force out of Camp Lejeune. It's sad to see another soldier lost as we get closer and closer to leaving the country. And then, for those that missed it this week, we had a little bit of drama. If you're not familiar with Super Mexican, he's pretty well known on Twitter as a great blogger, and he's does a lot of memes as well.
He's on FTR Radio. He's the
Yes.
Super Mexican Report.
And he has a few times where he's had stuff stolen by other groups, including Occupy, and that they've used his work without credit. Well, in this case, last Saturday on March the 1st, he had originally posted this meme of Obama and Putin having a phone call, which makes, mocking Obama and showing that Putin doesn't really give a crap.
Right.
And, well, then on Wednesday evening, the exact same meme but except for it has a different font, and the Super Mexican logo was removed and replaced with the logo of Right Changed. Well, they had over, at the time, they had almost 5,000 shares and 17,000 likes of their meme, which was clearly ripped off of his, and gave him no credit at all. And he wrote about it, and then I wrote about it as well. And just, it's really sad to see this major conservative group site that does a lot of good, but however stealing work from a conservative blogger.
Yeah.
is, and not giving him any credit. And they, both he and I had, and I'm sure other people as well, had contacted them trying to find out, get any response from them. They still have yet to respond at all, and apparently don't care, because as last I checked, I'm going to check again real quick, but yes, they still have it up. Yeah.
Go figure.
And so, I for one never followed them. I'd seen a couple of things in there, but they have 3 million plus followers on Twitter. On Facebook, sorry. Their Twitter, they kind of really don't do a lot with. But yeah, really sad to see them stealing people's work like that. And so, if you do follow them on Twitter, let them know what you think about that they're stealing work from other people. And, they obviously know about it by now and still haven't done anything about it or even apologized or anything. The other thing I did...
to say goodnight.
I had one more thing I want to talk about. Big grocery store news was Albertsons bought Safeway for $9 billion. Making them, the second largest grocery chain, with only the Kroger series of stores bigger than them. That's interesting because I've seen the government throw monopoly suits over a grocery store taking up 6% of a city, and yet here we have thousands and thousands of stores across the country, and they don't care. But yes, as you said, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us tonight. You can find me on Toradical, TORARADICL, on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Zulia, Google+.com, etc. And the Ushiny Network everywhere. And you can find Taylor
at EYE Desert Blog. At EYE Desert Blog. So,
and
that's where
when's your show, and what are you doing this week? What are you doing for your show this week?
I have no idea. I'm going to be honest. I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Liz and I will cause trouble on Right War. I know that.
With each other or for someone else?
Just in general. We'll just cause trouble.
Mayhem will ensue.
We'll just cause trouble. And I haven't thought that far ahead to Saturday Night Cigar Lounge yet.
Okay.
Just being honest.
Well, remember to tune in for
Sunday.
It. Find out what it is.
Yes. Don't forget, tomorrow we do have Alan Bordius with Their Finest Hour. I'm sure he will be doing wrap-up of his experiences at CPAC.
Boo.
Representing Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hey.
And who knows, maybe he'll talk about the concert he went to last night, too. Or tonight. Tonight, last night, something like that. But
sometime.
Yeah. We'll find that out tomorrow. Talk to y'all then, folks.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a good night.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.